You just won 1 million!
Charles Ingram, a name that became renowned with one of the most notorious episodes ever seen on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in 2001. Now, for those like me that have been living under a rock for the last 25 years, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is essentially a game show where contestants answer multiple choice questions with increasing difficulty to win cash prizes, with the ultimate goal of winning £1 million. The show is known for its lifelines, such as Phone a Friend and 50-50, which assist contestants in answering the questions. Ingram, a well-respected major in the British Army, came on the show already familiar with how it worked. His wife Diana and her brother had both been contestants and won £32,000 each. Ingram even made a practice version of the game's fastest finger first challenge at home. He was serious about winning. However, Ingram didn't do too great on the first day of the show. He only made it to £4,000 and had to use 2 of his 3 lifelines. The show's staff didn't think he would go much further, but on the second day, things changed dramatically. Ingram and his wife Diana had big debts, around £50,000. Their only hope to pay off their debts was to win big on the show, so before Ingram's second appearance, Diana reportedly got in touch with Tequin Wittock, who was going to be another contestant on the show. They devised a plan to help Ingram win the big prize, £1 million. Ingram's approach to answering the questions was quite different on the second day. He appeared to be unsure of most answers initially, often verbally leaning towards a wrong choice.
Oh, God. It's not fair on everyone else. I'll go for cricket.
Then, after a series of coughs from the audience, particularly from Wittock, Ingram would suddenly switch to the correct answer. This pattern repeated itself with increasing regularity as the stakes grew higher. For instance, on a high-value question, Ingram initially dismissed the correct answer, only to return to it following a distinct cough. His decision to switch answers seemed to lack any logical reasoning and was out of sync with his earlier gameplay, where he had used lifelines early and seemed genuinely confused. Ingram started taking unusual risks and changing his answers after the coughs. This strange behavior caught the attention of the production team. They began to notice every time Ingram was stuck on a question, a cough would come from Wittock, and then Ingram would suddenly know the right answer. The most shocking moment of the second day came during the final question for the £1 million prize. Ingram initially debated between 2 possible answers, appearing to lean towards the incorrect one. However, after a series of coughs, his demeanor changed and he confidently selected the correct answer. Even though Ingram managed to win the top prize of £1 million, the production team was suspicious. They held onto his prize money and started an investigation. They listened to the recordings and found that the coughs matched up with the correct answers. Ingram's win was put on hold and the police were called in. The story was published around the world and eventually led to court. The trial was called the Millionaire Trial and was a major public event. In court, the prosecution said that Ingram, his wife, and Wittock had cheated by using coughs to communicate. They even suggested that Ingram had a hidden pager on him that vibrated with the correct answers. Witnesses like fellow contestant Larry Whitehurst and the show's host Chris Tarrant gave their statements. Tarrant said he didn't notice anything odd during the filming. The defense argued that Ingram was just lucky and that Wittock's coughing was just a coincidence. Wittock even said his coughing was due to hay fever and allergies. Despite their defense, the jury found all 3 guilty. The outcome was devastating for all 3 of them. Ingram, his wife, and Wittock had to pay fines, on top of the debts they already owed, and the public brutally slandered the couple and Wittock. Ingram was forced to leave the army, and Wittock lost his job as a college lecturer. The case even led to a couple of TV documentaries and later inspired books, a play, and a TV series. Years later, some people started questioning if the verdict was fair. They pointed out that the coughing wasn't consistent and that even the show's host hadn't noticed anything wrong. But Ingram wasn't the only contestant to end up losing his career and prize money. In the 1950s, a Bronx native with a sharp mind and an IQ of 170 journeyed on the television show 21 and started with promise, but soon turned into a tale of deceit and manipulation. 21 was a 1950s American game show where contestants answered questions of varying difficulty to earn points, aiming to reach a score of 21. The show was a massive hit, but behind the scenes, a storm was brewing, one that would shake the very foundation of television ethics. And the main figure in this drama was Herb Stempel. In 1956, Stempel, already a trivia enthusiast with a knack for remembering facts, found himself on 21, hosted by Jack Barry. For 6 weeks, he dazzled audiences, racking up $49,500. But there was a dark secret behind his winning streak. Dan Enright, the producer, had been feeding him all the answers. Stempel knew the outcome of every game, including the one he was destined to lose to the more TV-friendly Charles Van Doren. The show's producers were meticulous in their deception. They even went as far as to dictate Stempel's appearance, dressing him in a baggy old suit and an old Timex watch that ticked loudly, adding to the on-air suspense, biting his lip and taking deep breaths to create drama. Every episode Stempel appeared in was carefully choreographed. right down to his conversations with Barry. The turning point came when Stempel was pitted against Van Doren. Stempel knew his time was up, the show's ratings were declining, and the producers wanted a new champion. One of the most cringe-worthy moments was when Stempel, who knew the correct answer to a movie-related question, deliberately answered incorrectly to ensure Van Doren's victory. Despite promises of future employment and financial rewards, Stempel realized he had been betrayed by Enright. This betrayal started a fire within him. He reached out to reporters and the Manhattan District Attorney, blowing the whistle on the rigged show. His actions set off a chain reaction, leading to a congressional investigation and a public outcry. The scandal's revelations were a shock to the American public. For months, Enright and others involved vehemently denied the allegations, labeling Stempel as a disgruntled former contestant. However, as more evidence surfaced, including an indictment against another 21 producer, the truth became undeniable. Charles Van Doren, who had won $128,000 and found fame through his appearances, initially denied any wrongdoing, but eventually, he too admitted to being part of the scheme, resulting in the end of his television career. The scandal tarnished the reputation of several other quiz shows as well, revealing a widespread practice of rigging games for higher ratings. Stempel's personal life took a turn as well. Despite his victory in exposing the scandal, he struggled with the aftermath. He lost most of his prize money to a con artist and spent many years grappling with the impact of the scandal. His story, along with Van Doren's, was later dramatized in the 1994 film Quiz Show, where Stempel's portrayal was a point of contention for him. But none of these events compared to the downfall of Michael Larson, a man who found a way to win big, not by cheating the usual way, but by being really observant. Michael Larson was an ordinary guy from Lebanon, Ohio. He drove an ice cream truck and fixed air conditioners. But when he went on Press Your Luck in 1984, he showed the world he was anything but ordinary. The game was simple: answer questions to get spins on a big board of prizes and cash. The key was to avoid the whammy, a little character that could take away all your money. The game required a blend of knowledge and luck. Contestants would answer trivia questions, and each correct answer gave them spins. These spins were then used on the big board, which was a grid of squares that flashed with different cash amounts, prizes, and the dreaded whammies. In the game, Larson didn't do great at first. He started off like any other contestant, answering questions and accumulating a few spins. But in the second round, something amazing happened. He started winning a lot, spin after spin, without hitting a single whammy. His turns on the board became increasingly suspenseful as he continued to win. It turned out, Larson had a secret. He had watched the show a lot at home, recording it and pausing it to study the pattern of lights on the board. He figured out that the lights weren't random. There were only 6 patterns. Knowing this, he could hit the stop button at just the right time. As Larson's winnings got higher, over $80,000, everyone watching was shocked. He was in the zone, confidently stopping the board and racking up prizes. The studio audience and the show's host were in disbelief as his total climbed higher. He kept going and finally stopped after winning over $110,000. This was massive. Nobody had ever won that much in one day on a game show before. His final total of $110,000 was a mix of cash and prizes, and became a record-breaking moment in game show history. But after the show, CBS wasn't sure if they should give him the money. They thought maybe he cheated. The producers and legal team scrutinized the game footage, looking for any rule he might have broken. In the end, they had to pay him because he didn't break any rules. He just watched the show really closely and figured out a pattern. Because of this event, the makers changed the game. They made it so that the light patterns were harder to guess and revamped the big board to include 32 patterns, ensuring no one could replicate Larson's method ever again. After the show, Larson's life had lots of ups and downs. He tried to make more money by investing in houses and other things, but it didn't work out. His investment ventures were mostly unsuccessful, and he faced various financial struggles. He lost a lot of his game show money and even got mixed up in some bad business deals. His life after the show was marked by a series of unfortunate events and poor decisions, to where he eventually moved to Florida and later passed away at the young age of only 49.